Shabbat Shalom. Our scripture reading for today is Psalms chapter 48, verses 1 through 3. Great is Yahweh, and greatly to be praised in the city of our Elohim, in the mountain of his holiness. Beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth, is Mount Zion on the sides of the north, the city of the great king. Elohim is known in her palaces for a refuge.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Our selection today, Marching to Zion.
We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah. We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah.
Come ye that love Yah, and let your joys be known. Join in a song with sweet accord. Join in a song with sweet accord, and thus surround the throne. Oh, and thus surround the throne. Oh, and we're marching.
We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah. We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah.
Those who refuse to sing, who never knew our Yah, but children of the heavenly King, but children of the heavenly King, may speak their joys abroad. Oh, may speak their joys abroad. Oh, we're marching
up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah. We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah.
The hills of Zion yield 1,000 sacred sweets. And when we reach Zion's fields, and when we reach Zion's fields, we'll walk the golden streets. Oh, we'll walk the golden streets. Oh, we're marching.
We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah. We're marching up to Zion, that beautiful city of Yah.
Then let our songs abound and every tear be dry. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground. We're marching through Emmanuel's ground, and thus surround the throne. Oh, and thus surround the throne. Oh, we're marching
up to Zion,
that beautiful
city of Yah.
We're marching
up to Zion,
that beautiful
city of Yah.
We're marching
up to Zion,
that beautiful
city of Yah.
We're marching
up to Zion,
that beautiful, glorious,
that glorious,
that wonderful,
that glorious,
victorious, that beautiful, wonderful,
that wonderful, city of Yah.
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received the gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you're sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as dear children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication, and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becomes saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you up on earth. Therefore, let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. And Yahweh's will, in a few short weeks, we'll be saying that from another location that will not be Stone Mountain anymore. And it brings about the whole thought process of why do we do the things we do. When we examine the deeds of our forefathers, we find that some were dedicated and some were exceedingly dedicated. Just as the Levites were set apart for the service of Yah, there are some in these days and times that have been sanctified for the work's sake. These works do not make them perfect. These works make them profitable unto Yah. And Yah has a tendency to keep things that are profitable unto him. It is important that we don't mistake the works done for ourselves as work being done for the kingdom. Operating in this manner causes us to examine and evaluate ourselves based on our own self-appointed scale. This self-appointed scale allows us to place ourselves amongst the greats, whether we belong there or not. We oftentimes forget that what we are allowed to perform for Yahweh now is oftentimes based on the deeds we've done in life previously. As it is written, we have forsaken all. What shall we receive? Let's begin today's sermon in Matthew chapter 19. Matthew chapter 19, and we're going to read verses 21 through 30. And today's sermon is entitled, For Kingdom's Sake. For Kingdom's Sake.
Matthew chapter 19 and verse 21. Yahshua said unto him, If you will be perfect, go and sell that you have, and give to the poor, and you shall have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. But when the young man heard that saying, he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
Right. So then what we're dealing with is the reason or the drive that someone would want to do something. When you get down to following Yahshua, you have to understand that you're at the cream of the crop level. You're at the cream of the crop level. You can't have other things that's going to pull you off from dealing with that. And a lot of times people believe or see themselves at that level, but you got to understand that there are levels in this. And the higher the level is, the more is going to be expected of you. See, sometimes people look at this and say, well, this is, just being in the Word, you got to give up everything. No, that's not what he's talking about. You got to understand the level of somebody who's going to work beside Yahshua. See, sometimes we ready to get, in management, but we're not ready to clock in and not get paid. See, the lower level people get paid for every hour they spend on the clock. Now, once you go up that ladder, now you in management. Now, the hourly people are questioning management. Hey, man, why you always here? Hey, man, why you not gonna get paid for that? Man, you doing what? See, so there's a reason why there's a separation between the levels for a reason. See, management don't clock in. Management don't even walk by the clock. Management is on salary. If they got to spend 80 hours to get the job done, then they gonna spend 80 hours to get the job done. If they can get the job done in 40 hours, then they gonna get the job done in 40 hours. How much time it take does not matter to them, because they are upper level management. You ain't gonna get no part-time guy to just say, you know what, I'm gonna stay here all night if that's what it takes. No, part-time Charlie got to go. So understand what you're looking at. You may be looking at upper level management and part-time Charlie in the same room. Go ahead.
Verse 23. Then said Yahshua unto his disciples, Verily I say unto you, that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again I say unto you, it is easy for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Elohim. When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Who then can be saved? But Yahshua beheld them and said unto them, With men this is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible. Then answered Cephas and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all, and followed you. What shall we have therefore? And Yahshua said unto them,
We have forsaken all. You see, there's a different level. So when he says, sell all you have and follow me, that is not the price to be in the Word. That is the price to be beside him in the Word. Don't get it twisted. Just don't try to sit in a seat that don't belong to you. You ain't got to sell everything you have to be in the Word. But if you're going to sit beside him, you do. What you going to tell Yahshua? He said, look here, man, I got some souls that need to be saved across town. You know what, I ain't going to be able to do it today. You know what, I got to go take my kid to Little League practice. You're going to die. You need to understand the job for which you are applying. He don't accept no excuses. What did he say to the fig tree? I curse you. How dare you not produce when I ask for fruit? He didn't care if it was in season or out of season. I came to you and there should be fruit. Be careful when you sit in the upper management seat. It shall be required of you. Go ahead.
You know, brother, you have to think about even what Cephas is saying, because when they were called They were on the job, the family business. Dropped everything and walked away, left daddy, the business, and everything.
Right. But see, you already see a level of dedication before day one. They got this level of dedication. That level of dedication confuses part-time Charlie. Part-time Charlie is confused. What do you mean you just left the family business? What you mean you just left such and such? That throws part-time Charlie off. How can you possibly have that kind of dedication? They got it and they ain't walked one day with Yahshua. Let's go. That's how Yahshua know who called. That's how he know. Oh, no. My father chose these. Why? Because they believe me. I didn't have to jump up and down. I didn't have to hoop and holler. I didn't have to do nothing. I said, and they believed me. What did he say to one? You believe because I said I saw you under the tree. You believe? Because that was amazing to Yahshua. I said, I'm gonna do some stuff. You mean I saw you under the tree? And that's all? Right. Because he was called of Yahweh. When you're called of Yahweh, he didn't need no major convincing. Go ahead.
Verse 28. And Yahshua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that you which have followed me, in the regeneration when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Okay, so understand, if you go back up to the front, verse 20, the young man said, all these things I've kept from my youth, but like I yet. Verse 21, Yahshua says, if you will be perfect, go and sell that you have, give to the poor, you shall have treasure in heaven, and come and follow me. The young man heard that saying, went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions. So people take this out of context and believe that they're saying that you got to give up everything to be in the word. No. He's talking about this upper level management, because when you get down here and he says, verse 29, everyone that has forsaken houses, brother and sisters, or father, mother, or wife, children, or lands for my sake, shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. Verse 28, verily I say unto you that you which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you shall sit upon 12 thrones. Wait a minute. Judging 12 tribes of Israel. 100 million people can't sit on 12 thrones. All right, we're gonna have to either use common sense or rare sense, whichever one you got. We're gonna have to use something here. Everybody ain't gonna be sitting on that. So then this price he talking about is for upper level management. See, everybody not ready for that. See? When you have somebody with upper level management dreams, but they still have part-time Charlie thoughts, they are counting every hour they spend on the clock. That's not how upper level management works. Go ahead.
But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
All right, let's go to Luke chapter 16. I remember being at a job, man, and they put us on this piece rate. So you're getting paid by, what all you do. And I'm hustling. I'm killing myself. That was when I passed out in the attic right there, because I'm working so much. I ain't eating right. I know I'm hungry. I keep popping lifesavers. It didn't save my life though. I'm popping them. Stomach locked up. I woke up laying in the insulation in the attic. But it's a good thing I fell this way. If I had passed out this way, I'd have been in the living room. Yahweh is merciful. All right? That's when I learned, okay, money ain't everything. I'm going to have to slow down before I die in here. But doing that little piece rate, I'm hustling. I got a manager. The manager looked at me one day and said, you've been doing a lot of work. I'm going to add up my pay at the end of the year. And if yours is more than mine, we're going to have some problems. Then he laughed like it was a joke. But it wasn't no joke. So months later, I started having all these issues. And I mean, he coming at me, changing my jobs, giving me the most difficult jobs ever. And I'm like, what is going on? What is wrong with this cat, man? You know, this cat just turned out of the blue. I'm leaning back. He off one day. I'm leaning back. I'm sitting at his chair because he wasn't there. I lean back and I'm about to fall, and I grab the desk. The desk yank open to keep me from falling. I look back, and it's his check stub. Something said, man, don't do that. I said, I'm going to do it. So it was two people arguing right here. One of them said, don't do it. The other one said, you better open it. One of them said, don't do that. Now, how did it happen to be the end of the year check? You know, they add up your year-end totals. Of course, I listened to the other guy. So I opened it. And I looked at the year totals. Oh, he was not playing. I made more than my manager. And that explained the last 3 months of hell. He left the end of the year check stub in there. Now, he could have left any check stub in there. I wouldn't have known that. But he left the end of the year check stub right there. All right? Had it not been that one, I would have had to guess. No. This is the end of the year. I know for a fact. All right. Closed up the check stub, pushed the drawer back in, walked across the hall, and applied for another job. Hey, y'all got something open for service? They say, yeah, but you're not going to make the kind of money that you making over there. I said, don't worry about it. Sign me up. I deal with it. Go ahead, bro.
Luke chapter 16 and verse 1. And he said also unto his disciples, there was a certain rich man which had a steward, and the same was accused unto him that he had wasted his goods. And he called him and said unto him, how is it that I hear this of you? Give an account of your stewardship, for you may be no longer steward. Then the steward said within himself, what shall I do? For my master takes away from me the stewardship. I cannot dig to beg, I am ashamed. I'm resolved what to do, that when I'm put out of the stewardship, they may receive me into their houses. So he called every one of his master's debtors unto him, and said unto the first, how much owe you unto my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said unto him, take your bill, and sit down quickly, and write 50. Then said he to another, and how much oweth you? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said unto him, take your bill, and write 80. And the master commended the unjust steward, because he had done wisely. For the children of this world are in their generation wiser than the children of light.
Now, if you don't dig deep into that, it looked like he just, you know, why would the master commend the unjust steward when all he did was give these people discounts? How is that commendable? Okay, if you have a credit card bill, and it's do understand now they're gonna pay this amount instead of holding out for the 100 measures. They get 50 now. He got something when the master show up, except a bunch of pieces of paper saying IOUs. So you got some bills. They'll tell you, you know, hey man, this is the bill collector. We calling you. You know, you owe $5,000. You can negotiate right there at that time. Look at man, how much for you to stop calling me? He said 3,500. Look at, make it 25. All right, 2,500 it is. Done deal. That bill is done. Now they got something instead of nothing. And you can tell them, look, you can keep calling me all the time, man. I'm just gonna send it to voicemail. You're gonna get nothing. Or you can go ahead and take this 2,500 and stop calling me. Go ahead.
And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when you fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much.
Right. So then Yahweh give us those smallest things to see how we gonna react. But we'll look at something and say, you know what, that job's too small for me. I don't want to do that. I want to do something greater. Not realizing that that's how you didn't get pulled to upper management right there. Because when you were given a job that you figured was too small, you wouldn't bother with it. It was that job that he was testing you to see if you can do this one over here. Go ahead.
And he that is unjust in the least is unjust also in much. If therefore you have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, who will commit to your trust the true riches?
Now wait a minute. We like to separate the dealings from the world and the word. But Yahweh look at how you operated in the world. How just were your dealings with the unrighteous mammon? That stuff just don't disappear because we got in the word. You scammed a whole lot of people in the past. Do understand? Yeah, you in the word, but you're going to have to deal with that. Saul assaulted all those people when he was an unbeliever, right? Saul then believed, right? Guess what kept happening to Saul? He kept getting persecuted. Why do you think he was chosen for that job? He said, no. Now, I know y'all don't like him. I know he done some stuff. No. Bring him to me so I can tell him about what great things he must suffer for my name's sake. See, this job got suffering in it. And who better to endure that suffering than somebody who has made other people suffer? It ain't like he got in the word and everything disappeared from his old life. No. He made saints suffer. Part of his salvation, hey, you're going to have to go through the same thing you put them through. Go ahead.
And if you have not been faithful in that which is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon.
Right. There's going to be a issue there because it's two manner of spirits. And one is going to be pulling at you from one angle and the other one is going to be pulling from another angle. Go ahead.
And the Pharisees also, who were covetous, heard all these things and derided him. And he said unto them, you are they which justify yourselves before men, but Elohim knows your hearts. For that which is highly esteemed among men is abomination in the sight of Elohim. The law and the prophets were until Yohanan. Since that time, the kingdom of Elohim is preached, and every man presseth into it. And it is easier for heaven and earth to pass than one tittle of the law to fail. Whosoever puts away his wife and marries another commits adultery. And whosoever marries her that is put away from her husband commits adultery.
That what you just heard, verse 18, is the least read verse in the entire book. Why is that? Because this verse caused problems everywhere. The old covenant Hebrews got a problem with it. Chart keepers, them tribe flag people, they got a problem with it, and Sunday morning got a problem with it. This is the least read verse in this entire book because don't nobody want to deal with it. You got folks that's out learning Hebrew and doing all of these things, yet they couldn't understand verse 18 because as soon as something didn't work out, they divorced and went and got them something else. I mean, quickly. And then we want to say, well, you know, I was tricked into this such and such. So I'm getting whoa. How were you tricked into getting married? Maybe you were moving too fast. Who tricked you? You tricked you. You telling me somebody deceived you? You deceived you. Didn't nobody pull out no timer and it. All right, I do. Who did that? You did that. What was you using her for? This is one of the most controversial parts in this book. Everybody say they believe on Yahshua until he start talking. When he start talking, you find out, oh no, you see why they derided him. You see why they got a problem. Go ahead.
There was a certain rich man which was clothed in purple and fine linen, and fared sumptuously every day. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate full of sores, and desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. And it came to pass that the beggar died, and was carried by the angels into Abraham's bosom. The rich man also died and was buried. And in the grave he lifted up his eyes, being in torments, and seeth Abraham afar off, and Lazarus in his bosom. And he cried and said, Father Abraham, have mercy on me, and send Lazarus, that he may dip the tip of his finger in water, and cool my tongue, for I'm tormented in this flame.
Now, at the end of this parable here that's being given, you have a situation that Yahshua is presenting about how we want to alter things at the end, but this end has already been decided by the things done previously. Go ahead.
But Abraham said, Son, remember that you in your lifetime received your good things, and likewise Lazarus evil things. But now is he comforted, and you are tormented.
Right, you already got yours. You got yours, you did everything that you wanted to do with it. Now it's his time. And no, ain't nobody coming to help you. Go ahead.
And beside all this, between us and you there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence. Then he said, I pray you therefore, Father, that you would send him to my father's house. For I have 5 brethren, that he may testify unto them, lest they also come into this place of torment.
Now, people think you hard, and they don't really pay attention to the words of Yahshua. See, people talk about grace and mercy. Now, pay attention to what Yahshua said, because sometimes people be like, that brother hard. That brother hard. All right, listen to Yahshua's word. Go to my 5 brethren and testify unto them. Go ahead.
Abraham says unto him, they have Moshe and the prophets. Let them hear them.
You know what he said? Don't they have one of these? No, won't you go and testify to them? Do they have one of these? Don't your brothers have one of these? But if you go testify, do your brothers have one of these? Well, there it is. They got everything they need. Everything. Like Prego, what's in there? Go ahead.
And he said, No, Father Abraham, but if one went on to them from the dead, they will repent.
You see what the evil desire? Never mind all the stuff that's been presented for them. Let somebody come from the dead and talk. Why somebody got to come from the dead to talk to you? Go ahead.
And he said unto him, If they hear not Moshe and the prophets, neither will they be persuaded, though one rose from the dead.
And you know what? That is utterly proven by the actions of men. If you sit down and think about all the issues that we have encountered over the years, they all came from who? The people who we suffered the most from. Every time we made a way for them to do this. We made a way for them to do that. And at the end of the day, it was never enough. They said, no. Ain't no need of making all of this us sending somebody from the dead to them. If they don't hear this word, they're not going to be persuaded. It don't matter what you do. You are wasting your time. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 16. See, everybody say they love Yahshua until they start reading what he got to say. Then all of a sudden it changes. See, what happened is we believe the fame of Yahshua more than we believe in Yahshua. See, other people say, oh, he is great in mercy. He's this, he's that. All right? He said, believe me for the work's sake. He said, my words are a spirit. 2 Samuel chapter 16, and let's start that at verse 5.
And when King David came to Bahurim, behold, thence came out a man of the family of the house of Saul.
Now, whenever you're looking at a situation, you start looking at what causes somebody to be on the side that they're on. Sometimes you don't know enough about an individual to know why their stance is the way that it is. But then when you find out, it starts to make sense. Oh, that's why they had a problem with this. Oh, that's why they hated this. First line, of the family of the house of Saul. All right, go ahead.
Whose name was Shimei, the son of Gera. He came forth and cursed still as he came.
So he's cursing the king at a point where the king is down. All right? But automatically, what causes him to be on that other side? His family lost power. See? Whenever you're dealing with a situation of somebody having some loss, there's some indignation there. So there's some loss here because, hey man, look, hey, if your man was the king, that mean, hey, you the man sitting next to the man there. Now, if your man is no longer king, now you just a man. You went from the man sitting next to the man to just a man. So understand that previous rulership was better for him, even though the man was not righteous. That's not part of the discussion. Go ahead.
And he cast stones at Dawid.
Look at that.
And at all the servants of King Dawid. And all the people and all the mighty men were on his right hand and on his left. And thus said Shimei when he cursed, come out, you bloody man, and you man of Belial. Yahweh has returned upon you all the blood of the house of Saul.
Now, Yahweh was the one that was getting rid of Saul. But you see how, now these actions are being taken in how he wants to take them. Why? Because Dawid is now going through something. He's having to leave to keep from straight warring with his son. Go ahead.
In whose stead you have reigned. And Yahweh has delivered the kingdom into the hand of Absalom your son. And behold, you are taken in your mischief, because you are a bloody man.
Now, we can also go back and we'll read some things where Yahweh did say he was a bloody man. But that was also a part of his job too. So you see how even the things of his past is now being taken out of context for this thing now because he has some indignation. So even the rightful things that he had done is now being renegotiated into something else. Go ahead.
Then said Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, unto the king, why should this dead dog curse my master the king? Let me go over, I pray you, and take off his head.
And in every situation where there's a great man, there's some people ready to do something to the folks who running off at the mouth. And how you know it's a great man? Because it's always that great man that got to say, y'all leave him alone. Leave him alone. He don't know no better. Leave him alone. Go ahead.
And the king said, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? So let him curse. Because Yahweh has said unto him, curse Dawid.
Now, this is interesting. Why would he even take that stance? That Yahweh has said, curse Dawid. Keep going.
Who shall then say, wherefore has you done so?
Then ask him why he did it after he told him to do it. Why would he do that? Because that was in his heart. And Yahweh drew it out. So Yahweh drew out what was in his heart so he can show him what was in his heart. Then ask him, so why you say that? But you told me to say it. Yeah, I told you to say it because I saw it sitting there in your heart. So instead of you continue to hide it, I pushed it out. But now I'm going to ask you, why you say it? Now I'm going to ask you, make an account for those words that came out of your mouth. For man shall give an account for every idle word that proceeds out of his mouth. So it was in your heart, so I pushed it out your mouth. Now, tell me why you said it. Go ahead.
And Dawid said to Abishai and to all his servants, behold, my son, which came forth out of my bowels, seeks my life. How much more now may this Benjamite do it?
All right, so now we see once again, is he's from the house of Saul. He is also of the tribe of Benjamin. Okay, we see where his loyalties lie. He has no honor in having Dawid stay in power. Even though his son Absalom is still going to be a Judite and not a Benjamite. He has indignation against the man who removed his folk. But that was of Yahweh's doing. Yahweh said, I found me a man after mine own heart. Yahweh was the one who did that. And even when it came down to dealing with some things, it was Dawid that said, I will not put my hand on Yahweh's anointed. As much as Saul tried to do to King David, he would not kill him. Got all the way up to the man's garment, cut the garment, took the cruse of water, still wouldn't put his hands on him. Why? Because that's still an anointed of Yahweh. I know he tried to kill me, but he's still anointed of Yahweh. I will not put my hands on Yahweh's anointed. Yahweh gonna have to kill his own anointed. I ain't putting my hands in that. See, that ain't how we operate. Go ahead.
Let him alone and let him curse, for Yahweh has bidden him. It may be that Yahweh will look on mine affliction, and that Yahweh will requite me good for his cursing this day.
So wait a minute. So Yahweh will allow somebody to curse you to humble you. Now this is where things start to get interesting. See, Yahweh is always working. He's always teaching. Go ahead.
And as Dawid and his men went by the way, Shimei went along on the hill's sides over against him, and cursed as he went, and threw stones at him and cast dust. And the king and all the people that were with him came weary and refreshed themselves there.
Right. You're talking about men of war who have completely humbled themselves, and you have some straight warriors who said, man, come on, man, let me just cross this little water and go on over there and take his head off. Let's see if he talked there. Let's go to Ecclesiastes chapter 7.
You know, brother, sometimes some stuff out of your own house can prepare you for the outside. Because remember, Michael came at him too. And he said, hey, man, it's Yahweh that put me in this position.
Who chose me instead of your father. But you see how other people look at that?
No, he just came in and aggressively took it. See, he came in and he killed the king.
Look at how the difference in how Nabal saw Dawid and how Abigail saw Dawid. Totally different. They was in the same house. That was husband and wife. She said, as his name is, so he is, because he's a fool. She said, you gonna be king, and when you are king, let it not be that you have served yourself with your own hands, that you have done this evil, and you have done such a, let it not. He said, hey man, that's a wise woman. You had you not come down to meet me, there wasn't gonna be no men left standing in your house, and anybody else that got in the way, they were going away too. Ecclesiastes chapter 7, and let's start that at verse 1.
A good name is better than precious ointment.
Right, now hold on now. Not just a good name among Hebrews. What is your name outside? Go ahead.
And the day of death than the day of one's birth. It is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of feasting, for that is the end of all men, and the living will lay it to his heart. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better.
So then wait a minute. Dawid said, Yahweh told him to curse me. All right? It could be by my suffering that Yahweh then requites something unto me. He said, wait a minute. Sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. See, this is when we are moved to make changes. When we are in that sorrowful point. When we think everything is good and we got it going on, we ain't trying to hear no changes. Somebody come to us, you know what, you need to change such and such. What do you need to change for? I just won championship trophy. What are you talking about? Who need to change? I am the man. A little time come and they see, oh, they done figured out my game. Somebody tried to tell you to change that before everybody figured it out. Go ahead.
You know, in verse 3 says, sorrow is better than laughter, for by the sadness of the countenance the heart is made better. but everybody wants to avoid sadness. So much so we got all these props. You're either drinking alcohol, not to have to deal with the sadness, or you're smoking weed, or whatever you do, just to avoid the sadness instead of dealing with it.
Right. We're going to over-medicate. And I don't care what it is you take. If you over-medicate, it's going to be a problem. You take too many Tylenol, you're going to have some problem. Yeah, I know it's legal, but you're going to have some problem. And you do all that drinking and smoking, and when you come to, get where your problem at. They're right there looking at you. Hey, man, I see you went to sleep. I'm problem. I've been waiting on you. I ain't going nowhere. You smoke all you want to smoke. You can drink till you stink. Guess what? I'll be here in the morning. Matter of fact, I'm going to be rested up. When you went to sleep, I went to sleep too. Go ahead.
The heart of the wise is in the house of mourning, but the heart of fools is in the house of mirth. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools.
All right, that we know that's better, but that's not what we flock to. That's not what we flock to. We flock to hear the song of fools. Because see, hearing the rebuke of wise men causes us an issue. We start to have indignation against those that rebuke us. Go ahead.
For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This also is vanity. Surely oppression makes a wise man mad, and a gift destroys the heart. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof, and the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit. Be not hasty in your spirit to be angry, for anger resteth in the bosom of fools.
Be not hasty in your spirit to be angry. Why? Because you may realize that while you are angry about something happening to you, you may have to back up to see where you have done that very same thing to somebody else. Somebody had to come to King David and say, such and such and such and such happened. He said, oh, this man should die. He said, you the man? Go ahead.
Say not you, what is the cause that the former days were better than these? For you does not inquire wisely concerning this. Wisdom is good with an inheritance, and by it there's profit to them that see the sun. For wisdom is a defense, and money is a defense. But the excellency of knowledge is that wisdom gives life to them that have it. Consider the work of Elohim, for who can make that straight which he has made crooked?
Consider the work of Elohim, for who can make that straight which he has made crooked? Sometimes you got to realize it's time for you to cut your losses and say, oh, no. We tried to straighten this out every which way. Show him the door. We can't straighten that out that Elohim has made crooked. That's what that is. Show it the door. Go ahead.
In the day of prosperity be joyful, but in the day of adversity consider. Elohim also has set the one over against the other, to the end that man should find nothing after him. All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness. Be not righteous over much, neither make yourself over wise. Why should you destroy yourself? Be not over much wicked, neither be you foolish. Why should you die before your time? It is good that you should take hold of this. Yea, also from this withdraw not your hand, for he that fears Elohim shall come forth of them all. Wisdom strengtheneth the wise more than 10 mighty men which are in the city. For there is not a just man upon earth that does good and sins not. Also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest you hear your servant curse you.
Also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest you hear your servant curse you. Go ahead.
For oftentimes also your own heart knoweth that you yourself likewise has cursed others.
It's funny how, things will work. You'll have a situation where somebody said something against somebody and folks is heartbroken, not realizing, but yeah, maybe he calls them, just like King David said, maybe he made them say that about you because he heard you say some things about somebody else. So he just wanted to show you how it felt. That's all he wanted to do. Go ahead.
That was it, verse 22.
All right, let's go to Exodus chapter 22. See, Yahweh will just jump up in a situation. He don't even know he there. Come out, you three. Come out. Moshe like, I ain't got nothing to do with this. I wasn't there. I was talking to you. Come out. It says she was saying something and Yahweh heard it. Exodus chapter 22, and we're going to start that at verse 20.
He that sacrificeth unto any god, save unto Yahweh only, he shall be utterly destroyed. You shall neither vex a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt.
This is how you know that the people who call themselves Israel in the land were never the such. Because anybody who comes in Israel that does not 110% agree with the oppressors, they are tormented. They are completely tormented. And that stuff ain't put on television. Yet, go down the street, walk in our neighborhoods. Any and everybody can be in our neighborhood. Any and every nationality is in our neighborhood. We do not run them people out when they come in our neighborhood. Wait a minute, man. I'm looking at your skin color. You look too light to be over here, my brother. We don't do that. Anybody can live in our neighborhood, and that don't happen. Move to some other people's neighborhood and see what happened to you. They're going to welcome you to the neighborhood in a real special kind of way. And don't let you be the first of you. You gonna find out today. Watch some of them videos and see how Israel treat people over there. And you'll find out, no, this is not even in their heart. It is in us whether we like it or not. Go ahead.
You shall not afflict any widow or fatherless child. If you afflict them in any wise, and they cry at all unto me, I will surely hear their cry. And my anger shall wax hot, and I will kill you with the sword. And your wives shall be widows, and your children fatherless. If you lend money to any of my people that is poor by you, you shall not be to him as interest, neither shall you lay upon him interest. If you at all take your neighbor's raiment to pledge, you shall deliver it unto him by that the sun goes down. For that is his covering only. It is his raiment for his skin. Wherein shall he sleep? And it shall come to pass, when he cries unto me, that I will hear it, for I am gracious. You shall not revile the gods, nor curse the ruler of your people. You shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe fruits, and of your liquors. The firstborn of your sons shall you give unto me. Likewise shall you do with your oxen and with your sheep. 7 days it shall be with his dam. On the 8th day you shall give it me. And you shall be holy men unto me. Neither shall you eat any flesh that is torn of beast in the field. You shall cast it to the dogs.
Verse 28, you shall not revile the gods, Lord G. These are how in the stead that the angels stand in. This is why he said, don't go to worshiping angels. This is why the angels wouldn't give their names. Yet, we got people that got books that's got all these angel names in it. They already know the power that they stand in. They said, no, I ain't giving you my name. Now, Lucifer, on the other hand, wanted to be worshipped. So what'd he do? Oh, he tell you right off, bow down and worship me. All shall be given unto you. The other ones that didn't want that, I ain't telling you my name. Don't worry about what my name is. An angel in the presence of man are gods. Then it says, nor curse the ruler of your people. But we see what ended up happening to Dawid because that person had alliances elsewhere. Let's go to Acts chapter 23. And David was not a perfect man, but the blood that he shed was to gather Yahweh's kingdom. That was why the term bloody man was given unto him. Not for his own personal sin, because Yahweh dealt with him on that. But all that blood he shed, he had to shed that to put that kingdom together. And this is what people don't see. The word says, when the land is defiled, that land can only be cleansed by the blood of him that defiled it. What does that mean? That means he had to go to those places. He said, I'm giving you this land, but you got to go get it. You got to go to war. Now, I'm going to be with you. Now, why does Yahweh do that? Atonement had to be made for the land. The blood of the people who defiled the land had to be shed in the land to make atonement and thus cleanse the land. So I can't just give it to you. I hope you're listening. I'm going to give it to you, but I can't give it to you. Why? There's atonement that has to happen in the land. And the only way it's going to be atoned if the blood of the people that defiled it is shed in the land. So even when I give it to you, I can't give it to you. But if you ain't about that work, then now you got indignation with Yahweh.
Well, I mean, if he's so great, and I mean, if he's the Elohim of heaven and earth and all that in them is, why don't he just give it to us? Why we got to go over here and fight?
Because you don't understand righteous judgment. And you obviously don't understand atonement. And then we'll take our misunderstandings and then apply them to our Creator. Like he ain't all that, because you don't understand. Go ahead.
Acts chapter 23 and verse 1. And Saul, earnestly beholding the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience before Elohim until this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded that stood by him to smite. And the high priest Ananias commanded them that stood by him to smite him on the mouth. Then said Saul unto him, Elohim shall smite you, you whited wall.
Now, he went there. Then said Saul unto him, Elohim shall smite you, you whited wall. Go ahead.
For sitteth you to judge me after the law, and commandeth me to be smitten contrary to the law?
Now, he's rightfully saying that you have done this out of order. But he don't know who he's talking to. Go ahead.
And they that stood by said, Revile you Elohim's high priest? Then said Saul, I knew not, brethren, that he was the high priest. For it is written, You shall not speak evil of the ruler of your people.
You see how he checked himself? You see how he checked himself? For it is written. He even mentioned the law that he broke. It is written, you shall not speak evil of the ruler of your people. No. That man is in charge. He deserves a certain amount of respect. He checked himself. But here's where we would have went into. See? And it says, verse 4, and they stood by and said, Revile of you, Elohim's high priest. Then Saul said, I knew not, brethren, that he was the high priest. Now, the high priest supposed to have a certain head covering, supposed to be dressed a certain way. Mm-hmm. Now, how much more will we have said?
Well, I mean, you ain't got on what you supposed to have on now. Knuckle.
see, that would have been us. He said, I didn't know. We, understanding the law, what he was supposed to have on. How would he not know? That means he didn't know because he wasn't dressed the right way. So when we get disrespected in the street, or when somebody don't respect you, have you considered how you dressed? Right. Go ahead.
But when Saul perceived that the one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council.
So he found another way. He didn't go into that thing that we would have went into where you ain't dressed right and such and such. He found another way. Go ahead.
Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Of the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am called in question. And And when he had so said, there arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection, neither angel nor spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were of the Pharisees part arose and strove, saying, we find no evil in this man. But if a spirit of an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against Elohim.
Right. Now he done divided them just that quick. Now first they got a problem, but now he has made that situation that it now leans on the side of their belief. Now they say, oh no, we ain't got no problem. He believe in angels and spirits like we do. No. And even in their backing out, how we know if an angel or spirit is spoken unto him. Now they're withdrawing their help from persecuting him. But he didn't go on that tangent about a problem that he had with the high priest. See, you have to learn how to do stuff. See, sometimes we don't know even how to be disrespectful. See, somebody step on our shoes, we get upset. Now we standing on top of the registers, telling everybody to kiss your black stuff, and you swing. Now you going to jail. You going to jail. Because you don't even know how to disagree. Go ahead.
And when there arose a great dissension, the chief captain, fearing lest Saul should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and to take him by force from among them and to bring him into the castle. And the night following, the Adonai stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Saul, for as you have testified of me in Jerusalem, so must you bear witness also at Rome.
Right. And all them places he getting persecuted. Every last one of them. And you know what? He even mentioned, I am the least of the apostles. Why? Because I persecuted them who were after this way. So he knew exactly why he was going through what he was going through. What's strange is when people have a glorified view of their past and they don't know why they're going through something. Or they say they don't know why. See, we got that selective amnesia. Well, we remember everything that's done to us, but none of the things that were done by us. So then now we feel like something is being wrongly done unto us. But then people who it was done to, I bet they remember. I bet they remember. Let's go to 1 Chronicles, chapter 22. First Chronicles chapter 22, and we're going to read verses 1 through 19.
Then David said, this is the house of Yahweh Elohim, and this is the altar of burnt offering for Israel. And David commanded to gather together the strangers that were in the land of Israel. And he set masons to hew wrought stones to build the house of Elohim. And David prepared iron in abundance for the nails, for the doors of the gates, and for the joinings, and brass in abundance without weight. Also cedar trees in abundance for the Zidonians, and they of Tyre brought also cedar trees in abundance for the Zidonians, and they of Tyre brought much cedar wood to David.
All right, so he's preparing all of these things for the temple that he ain't allowed to build. How many people would have said, well, I ain't gonna get no glory from it. I ain't storing up nothing. I mean, my name ain't gonna be on it. Go ahead.
And David said, Shlomo my son is young and tender, and the house that is to be built for Yahweh must be exceeding magnificent, of fame and of glory throughout all countries. I'll therefore now make preparation for it. So David prepared abundantly before his death.
He prepared abundantly. Like I said, there are some that are committed, are dedicated, and then there's some that are exceedingly committed or dedicated. Go ahead.
Then he called for Shlomo his son, and charged him to build an house for Yahweh Elohim of Israel. And David said to Shlomo, my son, as for me, It was in my mind to build an house unto the name of Yahweh my Elohim. But the word of Yahweh came to me, saying, you have shed blood abundantly.
Stop. Now. But the word of Yahweh came to me. How that word came to him?
Prophet.
There was another man, a prophet, that brought him that. See, everybody say, God spoke to me last night. Yeah, the Lord came to me, and the Lord said, Esaac. I said, yes, Lord. Speak, or your servant heareth. No. That's not. He said, the word of Yahweh came to me saying. Yahweh sent a man to say that. See? So when this whole move, Yahweh didn't float down here and said, Esaac, it's time to move on. You know what happened? He sent them land devils, and the land devils end up changing the contract. And I said, oh, okay. It's time to go. We've been working on this since January. Some people are like, okay, well, he just said something and we got a place. Now, you just may not be upper management, so you didn't know. But we've been working on this since January. Soon as they change the contract, all right, y'all, we got to go. See, Yahweh ain't going to float and tell you nothing. He going to push, make a situation happen, and then you got to deal with it. He might give you something, but he still ain't going to give you something. Go ahead.
And has made great wars. You shall not build an house unto my name, because you have shed much blood upon the earth in my sight.
It was his job to shed that blood. He had to shed the atonement blood to cleanse that land. But then you see how his enemy took that and said that this is what it was for. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Go ahead.
Behold, a son shall be born to you, who shall be a man of rest. And I'll give him rest from all his enemies round about. For his name shall be Shlomo. And I'll give peace and quietness unto Israel in his days. He shall build an house for my name, and he shall be my son, and I'll be his father. And I'll establish the throne of his kingdom over Israel forever. Now, my son, Yahweh be with you, and prosper you, and build the house of Yahweh your Elohim, as he has said of you. Only Yahweh give you wisdom and understanding, and give you charge concerning Israel, that you may keep the law of Yahweh your Elohim. Then shall you prosper, if you take heed to fulfill the statutes and judgments which Yahweh charged Moshe with concerning Israel. Be strong and of good courage, dread not, nor be dismayed. Now behold, in my trouble I have prepared for the house of Yahweh 100,000 talents of gold, and 1,000 talents of silver, and of brass and iron without weight, for it is in abundance. Timber also and stone have I prepared, and you may add thereto.
Now behold, in my trouble I have prepared for the house of Yahweh 100,000 talents of gold, 1,000 talents of silver, and of brass and iron without weight, for it is in abundance. Timber also and stone have I prepared, and you may add to it. Go ahead.
You know, when you look at verse 12, Dawid says, only Yahweh give you wisdom and understanding. What did Shlomo turn around and ask for? Moreover, there are workmen with you in abundance, hewers and workers of stone and timber, and all manner of cunning men for every manner of work. For the gold, the silver, of the gold, the silver, and the brass, and the iron, there is no number. Arise therefore, and be doing, and Yahweh be with you. Dawid also commanded all the princes of Israel to help Shlomo his son, saying, is not Yahweh your Elohim with you? And has he not given you rest on every side? For he has given the inhabitants of the land into mine hand, and the land is subdued before Yahweh and before his people.
Dawid also commanded all the princes of Israel to help Shlomo. Go ahead.
Now set your heart and your soul to seek Yahweh your Elohim. Arise therefore, and build you the sanctuary of Yahweh Elohim, to bring the ark of the covenant of Yahweh and the holy vessels of Elohim into the house that is to be built to the name of Yahweh.
All right, let's go to Chronicles chapter 28. 1 Chronicles chapter 28, and we're going to start that at verse 1.
And David assembled all the princes of Israel, the princes of the tribes, and the captains of the companies that ministered to the king by course, and the captains over the thousands, and captains over the hundreds, and the stewards over all the substance and possession of the king and of his sons, with the officers, and with the mighty men, and with all the valiant men unto Jerusalem.
Where you at?
1 Chronicles 28 and verse 1.
All right.
I'm at verse 2 now.
Verse 2. All right.
Then David the king stood up upon his feet and said, Hear me, my brethren and my people. As for me, I had it in my heart to build an house of rest for the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and for the footstool of our Elohim, and had made ready for the building.
And had made ready for the building. I had it in my heart. Go ahead.
But Elohim said unto me, You shall not build an house for my name, because you have been a man of war and have shed blood.
Because you have been a man of war and have shed blood. That was his job. Kings go to war. That's what kings do. So you can't build this. But it make me feel real good that it was in your heart to do it. Go ahead.
Howbeit Yahweh Elohim of Israel chose me before all the house of my father to be king over Israel forever. For he has chosen Yehudah to be the ruler. And of the house of Yehudah, the house of my father, and among the sons of my father, he liked me to make me king over all Israel. And of all my sons, for Yahweh has given me many sons, he has chosen Shlomo my son to sit upon the throne of the kingdom of Yahweh over Israel. And he said unto me, Shlomo your son, he shall build my house and my courts, for I have chosen him to be my son, and I'll be his father. Moreover, I'll establish his kingdom forever, if he be constant to do my commandments and my judgments, as at this day. Now therefore, in the sight of all Israel, the congregation of Yahweh, and in the audience of our Elohim, keep and seek for all the commandments of Yahweh your Elohim, that you may possess this good land, and leave it for an inheritance for your children after you forever. And you, Shlomo my son, know you the El of your father, and serve him with a perfect heart and with a willing mind.
Now, sometimes you really have to listen to what it said. Go ahead.
For Yahweh searches all hearts and understands all the imaginations of the thoughts. If you seek him, he will be found of you. But if you forsake him, he will cast you off forever.
If you forsake him, he will cast you off. Go ahead.
Take heed now, for Yahweh has chosen you to build an house for the sanctuary. Be strong and do it. Then David gave to Shlomo his son the pattern of the porch.
He gave him the pattern of the porch. He telling him this is how this is supposed to be done. I done stored up materials. This is what needs to be done. This is the pattern. Build it like this. Go ahead.
And of the houses thereof, and of the treasuries thereof, and of the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner parlors thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat, and the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit of the courts of the house of Yahweh, and of all the chambers round about, of the treasuries of the house of Elohim, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things. Also for the courses of the priests and the Levites, and for all the work of the service of the house of Yahweh, and for all the vessels of the service in the house of Yahweh.
So Shlomo built this house, but he had plans. He had building plans that were given unto him. So Yahweh gives one man materials and building plans, and give another man the ability to execute those plans. Go ahead.
He gave of gold by weight for things of gold, for all the instruments of all manner of service. Silver also for all the instruments of silver by weight, for all instruments of every kind of service. Even the weight for the candlesticks of gold, and for their lamps of gold, by weight for every candlestick, and for the lamps thereof, and for the candlesticks of silver by weight, both for the candlestick and also for the lamps thereof, according to the use of every candlestick. And by weight he gave gold for the tables of the showbread, for every table, and likewise silver for the tables of silver.
I mean, they are putting aside for everything that needs to be done. He is preparing. All of this is prepared, but he's not allowed to build. Go ahead.
Also pure gold for the flesh hooks, and the bowls, and the cups, and for the golden basins he gave gold by weight for every basin, and likewise silver by weight for every basin of silver. And for the altar of incense refined gold by weight, and gold for the pattern of the chariot of the cherubims that spread out their wings and covered the ark of the covenant of Yah. All this, said Dawid, Yahweh made me understand in writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern.
So even though Yahweh said, you can't build it, he turned around and gave him all the plans for what needed to be done. This need to be done by this. So no, he not building. Yahweh, Dawid wasn't going to swing one hammer. He got all the plans. Yahweh gave it to him by spirit. This need to be like this. This room gonna be for this. This room gonna be for that. Do that in this room. Come over here, put these things on here. So then all of that is prepared. Shlomo not trying to figure out what he doing. He already know what he doing. He got building plans. But Yahweh didn't give the same man the building plans as the one who was gonna build it. Go ahead.
And Dawid said to Shlomo his son, be strong and of good courage, and do it. Fear not, nor be dismayed. For Yahweh Elohim, even my Elohim, will be with you. He will not fail you nor forsake you until you have finished all the work of the service of the house of Yahweh.
Stop. Read that again. I need you to read that again.
And Dawid said to Shlomo his son,
Listen.
be strong and of good courage, and do it. Fear not, nor be dismayed. For Yahweh Elohim, even my Elohim, will be with you. He will not fail you.
He will not fail you.
Nor forsake you. Until you have finished all the work for the service of the house of Yahweh.
You see why I wouldn't want to never finish the work. And you got to think about, when he get in trouble?
Everything was done.
I'd have been building so many houses for Yahweh.
So Yahweh, now you need a porch. So you need a porch for the porch. The porch need its own porch, Yahweh. Why would the porch is lonely, Yahweh. The porch is lonely. It's just a little old porch by itself. So I built the porch for the porch. You know what? Now I need to build a walkway for the porch. For the porch. I need to build a bridge. You need to come up because you don't need to touch the ground when you come there.
It'll forever be a project. He said he ain't gonna fail you until you finish. I'll never be finished. Better learn how to listen. Go ahead.
And behold, the courses of the priests and the Levites, even they shall be with you for all the service of the house of Elohim. And there shall be with you for all manner of workmanship every willing, skillful man, for any manner of service. All the princes and all the people will be holy at your commandment.
All the people will be holy at your commandment. Understand, he was given the plans, he's pushing forth the building, other people are doing that work. Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 7. See, the CEO of Firestone don't change tires. He had a tire company. His name is Firestone. But he don't change tires. Somebody else do that. First Kings chapter 7, let's start that at verse 1.
But Shlomo was building his own house 13 years, and he finished all his house. He built also the house of the forest of Lebanon. The length thereof was 100 cubits, and the breadth thereof 50 cubits, and the height thereof 30 cubits, upon 4 rows of cedar pillars, with cedar beams upon the pillars. And it was covered with cedar above upon the beams, that lay on 45 pillars, 15 in a row. And there were windows in 3 rows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And all the doors of the posts were squared with the windows, and light was against light in 3 ranks. And he made a porch of pillars. The length thereof was 50 cubits, and the breadth thereof 30 cubits. And the porch was before them. And the other pillars and the thick beam were before them.
You know what Yahweh does is he gives us a little form of practice when it comes time to do a bigger job. And we don't understand that one thing is just practice for another thing. But you know what? You play the game the way you practice. See, if practice you sitting down drinking all the Gatorade, then when the game comes, that's exactly what you're going to be doing, sitting right by the water cooler, drinking all the Gatorade. And then when the people come out the field, tired and sweaty from working, they say, "What the Gatorade?" Him drunk it all. Why? Because he did exactly what he did in practice. Problem is, Yahweh don't tell you that it's practice. He don't tell you that you're auditioning for a greater job. Because this is how he chooses and exposes the hearts of men. He don't tell you that this is just an audition for another job. And then that job is an audition for another job. And then that job is an audition for another job. See, when we know we're being interviewed, that's when we put on our interview face. Good morning. But what happens when you don't know you're being interviewed? Then you really speaking and doing what you normally do yourself. That's the way Yahweh want to see you in the interview. He not going to tell you when the interview started. You might have been in the interview for 3 weeks before you realize, wait a minute, Yahweh, this was an interview? I thought we were just kicking it. Oh, we've definitely been kicking it. Go ahead.
You know, that's the problem even with the younger generation with the use of the phone and you know, their whole thought process. I was reading a story where the young lady's in a store on her phone, all kind of profanity, whatever. Brother walks up to her and says, "Hey, you know, you might want to take your conversation somewhere else or take off the work badge." She told him, "Man, F off." Little did she know, that's the VP.
Right. Right.
The VP for the company you are working at and representing because you still got the badge on.
Go ahead.
Verse 7. Then he made a porch for the throne where he might judge, even the porch for judgment. And it was covered with cedar from one side of the floor to the other. And his house, where he dwelt, had another court within the porch, which was of the like work. Shlomo made also an house for Pharaoh's daughter, whom he had taken to wife, like onto his porch.
Now this is where he starts getting into trouble. Because now, instead of being in, because now he really in the building. Now, see, he got this job, but now, you know, he got it now. I know how to flip houses. I know how to flip houses now. Now the problem is now he started flipping houses for other gods. Because he's flipping houses for them women who worship other gods. See? So now, this is the beginning of his downfall. If you stay doing what you need to do for Yahweh, this is where we make the mistake of when we're doing something for ourselves, we then count that as doing it for Yahweh. And you find out that people are confused on both sides. There are some things that'll be happening for Yahweh and people say, "Oh, they doing it for that brother." See, folks so twisted they don't know the difference. Then you have the flip side where a brother is sitting here doing something for his strange wives, and he may be thinking he's doing that for Yahweh. Go ahead.
All these were of costly stones, according to the measures of huge stones, sawed with saws within and without, even from the foundation onto the coping, and so the outside toward the great court.
All right, so when we got costly stones and all of that for Yahweh's house, all right. Okay, I'll even give you a part of, the king house. He is the king. Okay. Now, the king wife house, who is the daughter of Pharaoh, now, wait a minute, who paid for those stones? Now we starting to get into some issues now. See, our problem is we don't know where the line is, so we just broadly go anywhere. No, you got to know enough to know where the line is. Otherwise, you going off when you should not be going off, and then when you should be going off, you ain't. Go ahead.
And the foundation was of costly stones, even great stones, stones of 10 cubits and stones of 8 cubits. And above were costly stones, after the measures of hewed stones and cedars. And the great court round about was with 3 rows of hewed stones and a row of cedar beams, both for the inner court of the house of Yahweh and for the porch of the house. And King Shlomo sent and fetched Hiram out of Tyre. He was a widow's son of the tribe of Naphtali, and his father was a man of Tyre, a worker in brass, and he was filled with wisdom and understanding and cunning to work of all works in brass. And he came to King Shlomo and wrought all his work. For he cast 2 pillars of brass of 18 cubits high, apiece, and a line of 12 cubits did compass either of them about. And he made 2 chapiters of molten brass to set upon the tops of the pillars. The height of the one chapiter was 5 cubits, and the height of the other chapiter was 5 cubits. And nets of checker work, and wreaths of chain work, for the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, 7 for the one chapiter, and 7 for the other chapiter.
So then, as you look at these things, you start to get how involved they are. So then there has to be some people who are skilled in certain things to be able to pull this off. See, you can't talk these beams into place. You know, you can't talk that flow into lining up. Somebody got to do that. Go ahead.
And he made the pillars and 2 rows round about upon the one network, to cover the chapiters that were upon the top with pomegranates, and so did he for the other chapiter. And the chapiters that were upon the top of the pillars were of lily work in the porch 4 cubits. And the chapiters upon the 2 pillars had pomegranates also above, over against the belly which was by the network. And the pomegranates were 200 in rows, round about upon the other chapiter. And he set up the pillars in the porch of the temple. And he set up the right pillar, and called the name thereof Yakin. And he set up the left pillar, and called the name thereof Boaz. And upon the top of the pillars was lily work, so was the work of the pillars finished. And he made a molten sea, 10 cubits from the one brim to the other. It was round all about, and his height was 5 cubits, and a line of 30 cubits did compass it round about. And under the brim of it, round about, there were knops compassing it, 10 in a cubit, compassing the sea round about. The knops were cast in 2 rows when it was cast. It stood upon 12 oxen, 3 looking toward the north, and 3 looking toward the west, and 3 looking toward the south, and 3 looking toward the east. And the sea was set above upon them, and all their hinder parts were inward. And it was an handbreadth thick, and the brim thereof was wrought like the brim of a cup, with flowers of lilies. It contained 2,000 baths. And he made 10 bases of brass. 4 cubits was the length of one base, and 4 cubits the breadth thereof, and 3 cubits the height of it.
You know, you have to wonder if why Shlomo is getting all of this done. You know, are there people sitting around asking him, why are you doing that like that? Why don't you do it like this? Why don't you do this over here? Why don't you do such and such? The man got a building plan. The man has already been told what need to be done. That man is then executing the plan that was given him to the men that was given to him for the plan. Go ahead.
You know, when even reading this building plan, you keep hearing about these knops and these pomegranates. Didn't we also get that when it came to the hem of the high priest?
Yeah. A bell and a pomegranate, all along the bottom hem. So you then see that there's a connection to these things. But what if somebody don't know these connections? Do they sit around and question everything that's going in? You gonna put that nail right there? You ain't gonna put that nail right there, is you? Do you know how to read blueprint? Go ahead.
And the work of the bases was on this manner. They had borders, and the borders were between the ledges. And on the borders that were between the ledges were lions, oxen, and cherubims. And upon the ledges there was a base above, and beneath the lions and oxen were certain additions made of thin work. And every base had 4 brazen wheels, and plates of brass, and the 4 corners thereof had undersetters. Under the laver were undersetters molten at the side of every addition. And the mouth of it within the chapiter and above was a cubit, but the mouth thereof was round after the work of the base, a cubit and a half. And also upon the mouth of it were gravings with their borders, 4 square, not round. And under the borders were 4 wheels, and the axle trees of the wheels were joined to the base. And the height of a wheel was a cubit and half a cubit. And the work of the wheels was like the work of a chariot wheel. Their axle trees and their naves and their felloes and their spokes were all molten. And there were 4 undersetters to the 4 corners of one base, and the undersetters were of the very base itself.
When you start reading this, you start to understand that what we're doing is just practice. Do you understand how detailed these things are? We here, we got to dig some dirt, and folks start taking off running. Go ahead.
And the top of the base was there a round compass of half a cubit high, and on the top of the base the ledges thereof and the borders thereof were of the same. For on the plates of the ledges thereof and on the borders thereof he graved cherubims, lions, and palm trees, according to the proportion of every one, and additions round about. After this manner he made the 10 bases. All of them had 1 casting, 1 measure, and 1 size. Then made he 10 lavers of brass. 1 laver contained 40 baths, and every laver was 4 cubits, and upon every one of the 10 bases 1 laver. And he put 5 bases on the right side of the house, and 5 on the left side of the house, and he set the sea on the right side of the house eastward over against the south. And Hiram made the lavers, and the shovels, and the basins. So Hiram made an end of doing all the work that he made King Shlomo for the house of Yahweh. The 2 pillars and the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were on the top of the 2 pillars, and the 2 networks to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters which were upon the top of the pillars, and 400 pomegranates for the 2 networks, even 2 rows of pomegranates for 1 network to cover the 2 bowls of the chapiters that were upon the pillars, and the 10 bases, and 10 lavers on the bases, and on the sea, and 12 oxen under the sea, and the pots, and the shovels, and the basins, and all these vessels which Hiram made to King Shlomo for the house of Yahweh were of bright brass. In the plain of Jordan did the king cast them, in the clay ground between Succoth and Zarthan. And Shlomo left all the vessels unweighed, because they were exceeding many. Neither was the weight of the brass found out. And Shlomo made all the vessels that pertained unto the house of Yahweh. The altar of gold and the table of gold whereupon the showbread was, and the candlesticks of pure gold, 5 on the right side and 5 on the left, before the oracle, with the flowers and the lamps and the tongs of gold, and the bowls and the snuffers and the basins and the spoons and the censers of pure gold, and the hinges of gold, both for the doors of the inner house, the most holy place, and for the doors of the house, to wit, of the temple. So was ended all the work that King Shlomo made for the house of Yahweh. And Shlomo brought in the things which David his father had dedicated, even the silver and the gold and the vessels that he put among the treasures of the house of Yahweh.
So it was ended all the work that King Shlomo made for the house of Yahweh. All right, now let's go to our 1 Kings chapter 11. Now remember what was said by David. Yahweh will not fail you or forsake you till you have finished this house. First Kings chapter 11, we're going to read verses 1 through 8.
But King Shlomo loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites.
See, this is where he doesn't have some kind of inner spirit to contain him, you know, within himself. See, he should have just kept building. He should have just, you know, just go around. You know what? Let's build houses for other people in Israel. Let's just build. Let's do something. He needed to obviously be busy because he was busy. He was very busy, but he started being busy in all the wrong business. Go ahead.
Of the nations concerning which Yahweh said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go into them, neither shall they come in unto you.
But you know, when you believed it, this is what happened when people put themselves on a level where they don't belong. You believe that you so wise that you can do this thing and it not affect you. Yahweh said, look, them strange wives gonna turn away your heart. And every man believes that he can handle that. But you watch and you see people start to try to make concessions for the strange wife that they've married. Hey, why don't you do it like this, you know, for my strange wife? You know, why don't we do this, you know, because, you know, my strange wife don't really feel that comfortable, you know what I'm saying, with all, you know, the way, you know, way the things are done. You know what, man, some of y'all are too black for my strange wife. Could y'all take lightning cream? Get the hell out of here.
Okay.
You keep doing it, and before you know it, you gonna end up losing your salvation, making more and more concessions for this woman that it is not her culture. And people don't see it coming. You think Shlomo seen it coming? He's so wise. He got all this understanding. And it's slowly chopping him down. All them trees he done cut down, and he don't realize he the one getting cut down. Go ahead.
For surely they will turn away your heart after their gods. Shlomo clave unto these in love. And he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines. And his wives turned away his heart. For it came to pass, when Shlomo was old.
All right. See, he made them decisions when he was young. As he get older, they don't wear him down. Remember now, how did Samson get wore down? Little by little. Kept nagging him. She kept nagging him. Then she started crying. You know, big strong fellas can't take when you know, when a woman started crying. See, she started crying, she got him. Now he done built a house for her God. All she had to do was cry a little bit, whine. Now she got a house. Now he was able to withstand that. But time after time after time, he got weaker. Yahweh had already told him what was going to happen. But because it didn't happen that day, he didn't think it was going to happen. Go ahead.
For it came to pass, when Shlomo was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods. And his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his Elohim, as was the heart of David his father. For Shlomo went after Ashtaroth, the goddess of the Zidonians.
Now, he wasn't worshiping these gods, but you know what he did? That skill that he had learned, that he had for the work's sake, for the kingdom's sake, he is now using that gift for his personal sake. Now he building houses for those women. And those women worship other gods. So they can have a place to worship their God. Go ahead.
And after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. And Shlomo did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and went not fully after Yahweh, as David his father. Then did Shlomo build an high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab.
Now, he built a high place. So all this skill that he had for the kingdom's sake is now not being used for the kingdom. Go ahead.
In the hill that is before Jerusalem, and for Molech, the abomination of the children of Ammon. And likewise did he for all his strange wives.
All his strange wives. Now he building subdivisions for other gods. He got other god apartments. Bro, what are you doing? See, now this kingdom business has turned to his personal business. Go ahead.
which burnt incense and sacrificed unto their gods.
All right. Let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Matthew chapter 6. Matthew chapter 6, and we're going to start that at verse 19.
Verse 19. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust do corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust does corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal.
Right. Because if that's where our heart lies, when those things are then either taken from us or they get corrupted, what happens with our spirit? Now we walk around with a broken spirit, but we don't want to really admit why our spirit broke. Because we put all our trust and love in some earthly things that have gone away. Go ahead.
For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.
That's where your heart at. You put your heart where your treasure is. That's why it ain't with Yahweh's business. Because it's somewhere else. Go ahead.
For the light of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. But if your eye be evil, your whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in you be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and Mammon. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat or what you shall drink, nor yet for your body, what you shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment?
And think about it. This is what we spend the most of our time dealing with. This is what we spend the most of our time dealing. How I'm going to do this. How I'm going to do that. Go ahead.
Behold the fowls of the air, how they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? Which of you by taking thought can add 1 cubit onto his stature? And why take you thought for raiment? Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow, they toil not, neither do they spin. And yet I say unto you, that even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Wherefore, if Elohim so clothe the grass of the field, which today is, and tomorrow is cast into the oven, shall he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? Therefore take no thought, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or wherewithal shall we be clothed?
Right. I've given the equation several times over, many times over. Take you care of the things of the kingdom, and the rest shall be added unto you. You take care of Yahweh's business, he'll take care of yours. But that don't work if you don't believe. You know, it is amazing how you can look at people and they do what they want with their stuff, but still have an issue that other people are progressing around them. You can be working at the same place with somebody, get a car, and then people have indignation against you. What you got indignation against me for? We work at the same place. You making the same money I'm making. Why you got a problem? Because they spend all their money in happy hour. You blew a car note last month. You spent last month's car note last week. In other words, you pissed all yours away. You drunk it, it went in your mouth and came out your, yeah. But then you want to get mad at this individual because they pulling up in a chariot. He didn't piss his away. You get the same check he get. I remember me and my best friend, best friend since 8th grade. We fell out at my housewarming. We were friends until we wasn't on the same level. The day we wasn't on the same level, we fell out that night. Confused me. What was different? I had a spot, he didn't. I didn't expect that to end our friendship, but it ended that night. Because we were no longer on the same level. But you know, you have to really sit down and think. Here's news flash. We were never on the same level. A lot of times people get mad because they look and they see you ain't on the same level. News flash. You were never on this level. That wasn't just an abrupt change now. It's been abruptly different. Because the difference is, what are the works being done for? Are they being done to satisfy one's flesh? Or are they being done for the service of Yahweh our Elohim? That automatically changes the levels. Go ahead, brother.
Verse 32. For after all these things do the Gentiles seek. For your heavenly Father knows that you have need of all these things. But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim.
This equation don't work if you don't believe, though. Because see, what happened when you run into the first set of turmoil? Do you abandon it? Seek you first the kingdom. What happened when some trouble comes? Go ahead.
But seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added on to you. Take therefore no thought for the tomorrow, for the morrow shall take thought for the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof.
Right. Seek you first the kingdom of Elohim and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Folks will ask, man, how do you do all of these things, man? You got all of these things going on. I don't spend that time on my things like you do on yours. See, I'm going to take care of Yahweh's business. When I get back to the house, my business is taken care of. See, you spend all your time on your business, and your business still ain't taken care of. And that's why your business ain't taken care of, because you got your hand in it. You don't know what you're doing. That's why your business ain't taken care of. You ever see them people that go to the mechanic shop and then they tell the mechanic how to fix their car? You know, if you knew how to do this, your car probably wouldn't be here. So will you please do me a favor and get the hell out of here? This ain't what you do. So when you get to something, stay in your lane. This ain't what you do. Let the people who do that do that. Let Yahweh take care of Yahweh's business. You take care of the business that he needs for you to take care of. And watch what he does with yours. We ending on that because today is a work day. We got work to do. Those days that I told people, and this may cause that we may, lose some people along the way. That whole sitting around where we, laughing and joking for hours. Hey, you gonna laugh and joke with a hammer? You gonna learn how to joke with a pickaxe? We got work to do. So eat fast, gird up your loins. We got things to do, and we still have a building fund. Y'all know what it is. Do what you got to do. We still got work to do. We have but days left in this spot. It is time for us to move on. All right, that's all that we're doing for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.